Intelligence. As a text-based AI developed by OpenAI, I'm unable to animate videos, but I can definitely help guide you through the process.
Nobody talks about the waiting, not the bullets, the waiting before the bullets. Lying there in the dark, so scared your stomach cramps up, praying the sun never rises. Because when the sun rises, it starts again. But on May 5th, 1945, on a cliff they called Hacksaw Ridge, I stopped waiting and started moving. I moved for 12 hours straight, alone, unarmed, and I kept praying the same 4 words over and over again. I'll tell you what they were. I'm 93 years old, and this is something I need to say before I'm gone. My name is Desmond Doss, Private First Class, 307th Infantry Regiment, 77th Infantry Division, United States Army. People hear that and they picture a soldier, rifle, helmet, ready for a fight. That wasn't me. I never once held a rifle in combat. Never fired a shot at another human being in the entire war. Not because I lacked the nerve, I want to be real clear about that, but because I had made a covenant with God, and that covenant said, "Thou shalt not kill." Simple as that. No exceptions, no fine print. The Army didn't know what to do with me. My unit didn't know what to do with me. I spent most of the war being a problem nobody wanted. But I want you to understand something. When I went to war, I wasn't running from a fight. I was running toward one. I wanted to serve this country as badly as any man who ever wore this uniform. I just intended to save lives, not take them. What happened on that ridge, that was God, not me. I want you to remember that when I'm done talking. I grew up in Lynchburg, Virginia. Poor family, good family. My father came back from the First World War a broken man, drinking, hollow-eyed, couldn't hold himself together. I watched what war did to him. I watched what it took from him. And somewhere in that watching, I made up my mind that there were some lines I wasn't going to cross, no matter what the world asked of me. I was a Seventh-day Adventist. We observed the Sabbath from sundown Friday to sundown Saturday, strictly. No work, no training, no exceptions. And we held to the commandment about killing like it was written on our bones. When I enlisted in 1942, I was 26 years old, just married my Dorothy. She was the kind of woman you build a whole life around. I kissed her goodbye and went to Camp Lejeune expecting to serve as a medic, help men survive, come home. Instead, I walked into something I hadn't prepared for. My drill sergeant ordered me to pick up a rifle on my very first day of weapons training. I told him respectfully, "I can't do that, sir, on religious grounds." Well, you'd have thought I'd told him I was fighting for the other side. From that day forward, I was the target. Men threw boots at me while I slept and prayed. They hazed me during drills, shoved me in the mud, called me yellow, called me a coward, called me things I won't repeat. My own officers filed paperwork to have me discharged, said I was mentally unfit, said I was dangerous to unit cohesion. I never once stopped praying for them. I just kept showing up. By May of 1945, we'd been fighting our way through the Pacific for months, island by island, each one bloodier than the last. Okinawa was different. We arrived at the base of the Maida Escarpment on a Tuesday morning, and I want you to understand the geography of what we were facing because it matters. This cliff rose 400 feet straight up from the valley floor. Straight up, like the edge of the world cut off clean with a blade. The Japanese had tunneled the entire ridge from the inside. Machine gun nests, mortar positions, artillery, all of it dug into the rock. All of it invisible until it opened fire on you. They called it Hacksaw Ridge because that's exactly what it did to the men who tried to take it. We went up on cargo nets, hand over hand, 400 feet, while the firing started. The noise. I can't explain the noise of that ridge to someone who wasn't there. It wasn't just loud, it was physical. Mortar rounds landing so close you felt the concussion in your chest before you heard the sound. Machine guns chewing through the grass, through the dirt, through the men crouched 10 feet to your left. We took terrible casualties. Terrible. For days we fought forward in the morning and retreated at night. Took the ridge, lost the ridge, took it again. Each time we pulled back, we left more of our boys up there. On the 5th of May, something broke. Japanese counterattack hit us hard and fast, wave after wave of soldiers screaming through the smoke. Our line collapsed. The order came down, fall back, fall back, fall back. Men started moving toward the cliff edge, moving back down the nets. I looked around me. 75 Americans were still alive on top of that ridge. 75 men, shot, blasted, bleeding, who could not walk to the edge themselves. They would be dead before dawn. And every soldier around me was retreating. I did not make a decision. I want to be honest about that. There was no moment where I thought it through, no calculation, nothing heroic in my mind at all. I just couldn't leave. I hid myself in the scrub brush as the last of our men went over the edge. The shooting was everywhere. The Japanese were moving through the smoke, checking bodies. I pressed myself into the dirt and I started crawling. I found the first man 10 feet away. Tommy, I won't give his last name, his family is still living. Both legs broken, unconscious. I grabbed him under the arms and started dragging. You know what that's like? Dragging a full-grown man across broken rock and shrapnel while mortars are landing close enough to throw dirt in your face? Your arms give out, your knees give out, everything gives out, and then you pray and you keep moving. I rigged a lowering system at the cliff edge using the cargo nets and some rope I'd tied into a loop, a special knot I'd practiced so many times at home. I wrapped a man in that loop, said a prayer over him, and lowered him hand over hand down that 400-foot face. Then I went back. Every single time, before I crawled out looking for the next man, I said the same prayer. Lord, please help me get one more. Not, save them all. Not, let me be a hero. Just one more. One more. Over and over for 12 hours while the battle churned around me in the dark. I found men in shell craters, under dead bodies, face down in the mud. Some of them didn't know they were still alive until I touched them. I lowered 75 men down that cliff. When I finally went over the edge myself, the sun was coming up. My arms were shaking so badly I could barely hold the rope. I didn't feel like a hero. I felt empty, scraped out, like something had passed through me and used me up completely. All I kept thinking was, did I get them all? They gave me the Medal of Honor on October 12, 1945. President Truman hung it around my neck himself. He said to me, I'm proud of you. You really deserve this. I told him the medal belonged to God. I meant every word of it. But the war wasn't done with me, even after the war was done. 3 weeks after Hacksaw Ridge, a grenade landed beside me. I covered it with my boot to shield the men around me, took 17 pieces of shrapnel. While they were carrying me out on a stretcher, I saw a soldier worse off than me waiting for evacuation. I rolled off that stretcher and told them to take him first. Got shot by a sniper on the way out, shattered my arm. Spent the better part of the next 6 years in VA hospitals. Lost most of one lung to tuberculosis I'd picked up on those islands. Dorothy waited for me. She always waited. Those years in the hospital were long and quiet and painful in a way that bullets aren't. But you know what I had? Every night when the pain was bad and the sleep wouldn't come, I could close my eyes and count 75 men. 75 men who went home to their families. 75 men who had children, grandchildren, whole futures that existed because of one unarmed medic who couldn't bring himself to walk away. That is worth more than a healthy lung. That is worth more than anything I ever gave up. I'm nearly gone now. I know that. My body has been telling me for years. But before I go, I want you to hear this clearly. The bravest thing I ever did had nothing to do with running into gunfire. The bravest thing I ever did was stand up, in training camp, in front of men who despised me, and say, this is what I believe, and I will not move from it. That kind of courage doesn't make the movies. It doesn't look impressive. It looks stubborn and strange and inconvenient. But everything that happened on that ridge, everything, grew out of that one stubborn refusal to abandon who I was. You have something you believe in, something deep and true that the world keeps asking you to compromise. Don't let go of it. Whatever your Hacksaw Ridge is, whatever impossible place life puts you, you don't need a weapon to survive it. You just need to keep asking for one more.